Let us now put our hands together for Jyotish and Devi ji. You know, as a doctor, I can tell you the same nerves that go to the heart, it's a nerve plexus, also supply the hands. So when the heart is happy, you want to give, you want to clap, you want to serve, and we are so happy to have you, Jyotish and Devi ji. You need no introduction, but it's a good reminder they are our spiritual parents. I remember the last interview, perhaps, that was happening with Swamiji. Jyotish and Devi ji were interviewing him. Some of us were very fortunate to be sitting there, and Jyotish ji asked Swamiji a question, and Swami said, "You should answer that. You would, because you'll give the same answer that I would give." And then there was another question, and again Swami said, "But you and Devi should answer that." And he said, "If anyone thinks they know better than you, then I don't know what to say." And of course, in retrospect, like I said, it was one of the last times we had Swamiji, Jyotish and Devi ji together. But even prior to that, on one level we don't need these things, but even prior to that, knowing you, feeling your love now for so many years, you have served, fed the spiritual family of Swamiji, Master Ananda for decades, so many, more than 5 decades. We feel very, very fortunate to be under your loving guidance. I would like to now invite Jyotish and Devi ji to please share with us on the topic of fulfilling the mission of the Masters and Swamiji in India.
Thank you. And thank you, Sri Kartikeyanji, for your love and friendship all these years, and for the beautiful introduction, Nayaswami Aditya. You know, talking about Ananda, its mission, the 20 years that we have been in India, I had an odd thought or an odd experience in meditation this morning. As I was sitting in meditation, I prayed to Master and Swamiji to be present here during this morning together. And I can obviously feel their presence very strongly in all of you. But the strange reply that came in my mind was, what choice do we have? But there was a deeper resonance to that. You and I at least have the illusion that we have the free will to have chosen to come here this morning or not to choose to come here this morning. We can choose that only because we have not yet ascended to the kind of consciousness of omnipresence. So Master and Swamiji have joined with Christ consciousness, and that Christ consciousness is omnipresent. So how can they not be here? How can they not be in your home? How can they not be in your kitchen or in your children's hearts? They're everywhere. The job of Ananda and of Swamiji, who founded Ananda, was to help make that realization better known. Not to make it a reality, but to make it better known. Because the reality is that the Masters are so far ahead of us that we're always running to catch up until we become one with them. You know, Master started his great, great book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, with the words, "The characteristic features of Indian culture have long been the search for eternal verities and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. That's the first paragraph of that great book. Swamiji, when he read that, Sri Kartikeyanji referred to that. He read it in New York, and it was at a turning point in his life. He had long been searching for eternal verities. He had been long just yearning to find the truth, but he couldn't find it anywhere. He couldn't find it in science. He thought maybe in the arts. He couldn't find it in the arts. He couldn't find it in college. He couldn't find it anywhere. But when he read that book, think of the power of his yearning for the truth. Because really only a few months before he read that book did he accept the possibility that maybe God was involved in this whole equation. Finally, he accepted that, and that, of course, opened the doorway for him to be able to receive the gift of Autobiography of a Yogi and receive on behalf of that the blessings of Master. But imagine for yourself a deep, deep yearning for knowledge, yearning for truth, yearning for something higher, and finding no outlet for that until finally you receive something. Swamiji, reading that very first paragraph, his heart must have just burst open. I know that he talked about how he read the book nonstop, just pausing only a little bit for sleep, and then immediately took a bus to meet Master. But Master, being omnipresent, was already there within his heart, just as Master is present within the hearts of each of us, waiting only for Swamiji to turn toward him and to open his heart to him, and then Master was able to come in. It's not that Master was not eager to do that. He was very eager to do that. He was already in Swamiji's heart, as he is in the heart of each of us. But it's we who must open our heart to that truth. Now that's the impulse that Swamiji came to India with. He said that on the bus trip going across America, took him 3 days and 3 nights. He said there were 2 thoughts absolutely uppermost in his consciousness. One, these teachings are so wonderful. They will show me how to find God. I must find God. I must complete this spiritual search. And the second thought was, these teachings are so wonderful, I must share them with everyone. Isn't that what's reflected in that first paragraph in Master's book? And so that resonance of that impulse in Swamiji. So he came to Master already with that impulse, and then Master empowered him with great energy, direct teachings, great friendship and guidance, directed Swamiji on what he needed to do for his fulfillment of his dharma, why he came into this life. And that, of course, included the fulfillment of those 2 things, the personal search for God and the sharing of God with others. One might say that Ananda is simply an outgrowth of that impulse of energy. Ananda doesn't have really an existence on the physical level, except as the physical level. The people, all of us together, all of our yearning, the only thing that's really important about that is the expression of that eternal truth, that eternal yearning to be one with God and to share that search with others. And so Swamiji founded Ananda. We were fortunate enough to be with him, as Kartikeyanji said from the very beginning. Had many, many, many adventures that we had with him, and many of those we've shared. This is not really the occasion to share too many of those, but nonetheless, there were many adventures, but always through whatever form the adventure was taking, whatever project we were doing, whatever city we were traveling to, whatever was happening outwardly, was still always Swamiji's discipleship to Master, and that initial impulse of wanting to find God and wanting to share that search with others. And so one could say that is the core energy, and Ananda and all of the extension of Ananda has grown around that one desire to find God and to share with others. And so the adventure begins in the hills in California, in the Sierra Nevadas, and actually it began before that, began in Swami's apartment, which is where Jayaji met Swamiji there, and I met Swamiji there, a few others. So imagine, right now we have Ananda, and it's around the world. We have many, many centers in India. We have communities all over. We have hundreds of thousands of people who draw inspiration from Ananda. At the time I met Swamiji, all of Ananda was about a quarter the size of this room. It was just his little apartment in San Francisco. But from that apartment was always this same light of wanting to share God with others. And he knew one of the things that is a core value of the Ananda culture, one might say, that he began, is that others want to join in that adventure. And Swamiji immediately started to find ways that we could be a part of things. He had a Thursday night kirtan and meditation and a talk every Thursday night, Guru Day. And so it would start with kirtan or some chanting, but there were only about maybe 15 people that could fit in that little room. He made sure that every one of them had some instrument to play because he knew the impulse of wanting to do something. And he taught me a couple of simple rhythms on the mridanga, and so I played the mridanga. And you might think, oh, how wonderful, how wonderful. But Swamiji was clever enough to know that now Jyotish is the mridanga player. He's got to be here every Thursday night. Because if he isn't here, who will play the mridanga? So in my early delusions, I thought I was really important to the kirtans. But it was simply an expression, a beautiful friendship and love and joy that Swamiji had, the expression of the desire to share and the desire to help others share. And so that's the kind of core energy around which Ananda has been built. And so we went from there to the property at the village, and then gradually, after about 10 years, into city centers, because not everybody is ready to relocate to the wilds of the Sierra Nevadas. Most people have jobs and responsibilities, and so we have to be, Ananda if we want to share the search for God, and the desire for finding God, we have to be where the people are yearning for that. And so Ananda has located around the world, coming to the 20 years here in India, which is such a beautiful, beautiful chapter, or a series of chapters in the book of Ananda, one might say. Reminds me, coming back to omnipresence, along with it is the fact that there's no time. There was a monk with Master, and he had a vision in which Master showed him the book of his life. And Master would page back, and he would see his past incarnations, and then on the page that was there, he saw the present, and then Master would page ahead, and he would see his future incarnations. And how can Master do that? Well, he knows there is no time anyway, except what God has made up. But coming back to the delusion of time, we all have that. And so 20 years in India, as Sri Kartikeyanji has implied, we are just barely getting started. It's if you were to use the idea of a cricket match, it is the first pitch of the first batter of the first round in a cricket match. That's where we are in Ananda's history. It is going to continue, and it's going to spread, and it's going to go through many, many different places. It already has. We did somebody released a map of where we've had either inquiries or students or some significant energy of people wanting to have the energy of Ananda come to them. So they did a map, one little dot for each country, not all the centers in a country, but one for each country. I think there were something like 198 countries last year. So Ananda is going to spread, but why are we going to spread? And what is the significance of our spread? If it were just dots on a map and being able to pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, look how important we are, it would be meaningless, absolutely meaningless. In fact, worse than meaningless. It would increase the sense of ego. But the spread, as a continuation of the impulse that created Ananda, of the desire to find God and the desire to share that with others. Now that is important. And that is what I have seen deepening here in India. When Swami first came, of course there was this impulse to spread out. The first city center was in Gurgaon, and the temple was not about half as big as this, but it was in the basement. As probably Diana will say tomorrow, Swami would often say, we've got to get out of the basement. and so it was. We managed finally, and here we are on the top floor. But all of it is important only because, as Master put it, an organization is like a hive, and bees will come to that hive. But unless the organization produces the honey of God realization, then the hive in and of itself is not important. So, but there is the honey of sincere devotion and sincere seeking for self-realization that inhabits this and all of the Ananda centers. And it's that, above all, that makes Ananda's presence in India over the last 20 years helpful and valuable. And as long as we hold to that, as long as we can hold sincerely and conscientiously to our own individual search for God and the desire to share with others, and that honey will attract thousands and thousands of bees to it. And so we're just beginning. But it has been indeed a glorious beginning. And I look around and I see so many of you that have been with this Indian adventure of Ananda for many, many years. And I thank you for your participation, your friendship, but most of all, I thank you for your spiritual sincerity. God bless us all.
Thank you, Jyotish. That was a nice talk. So, obviously we're here because we're celebrating Ananda's 20th anniversary. But first, let me just pause for a moment and say, it is such a joy to be with you all. So many dear, dear friends. We've spent lovely times together in so many places, and your faces just fill our hearts with joy. The friendship, the dedication to God and Guru, all of it. It's really a joy to be here. So 20 years. I thought about that, and I remember when I was a young girl in school, and we were studying Western history. And the teacher said, Western history began in the valley of the Mesopotamia, Tigris and Euphrates. And we all wrote that down. And I thought, but I never accepted what people told me if it didn't ring true to me. So I thought, but how can that be? How can all of a sudden in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley, Western history popped up like popcorn? I thought that can't be true. There has to be things that led up to it. And then I thought about Ananda, 2000 in India, 2003. That's really the beginning. No. We have to go back before that. Maybe it started in 1958, when Swami first came to India. And he lived here for 4 years. And he loved the country, and he loved the people, and he loved lecturing here because of the wonderful exchange that we all feel when we share here. The openness of heart, the receptiveness of mind, that's part of the Indian culture. He loved that time here. He visited many saints. He had the deep connection with Anandamoy Ma, who she took him like a son, and with many other great saints of India. And so maybe that's when it started. But then I thought, no, last night Aditya talked about when Swamiji was with Master, and Master said, I'm taking you to India. So it's 1948, 49. And every year they planned, but they never went. Maybe that's when it started. And then I thought, but no, why was Master even in America? Maybe it was 1920 when Master first came to the West to open up the minds of, it was fascinating. I was reading that when Sri Yukteswar was at the Kumbh Mela, 1894, going back to then, he said, the minds of Western scientists are so profound in their understanding to help mankind. But if we don't show them higher truths, they'll be cut off from that. And there's a limit to how much they can really help people. So maybe Master came because Sri Yukteswar went to the Kumbh Mela in 1894, and Babaji said, I will send you a disciple in the future who will disseminate these teachings in the West, Kriya Yoga. And then I thought, no, let's step back from that. 1861, we're going back a long time. 1861, when Lahiri goes to, everyone okay? Okay. When Lahiri goes to, meets Babaji in his cave. Okay, good. And that's when Babaji gave him the dispensation to bring Kriya Yoga to the world, to all of us. None of us would be here if those restrictions were held, that it only had to be given to renunciates. Lahiri said, can't we give it to anyone who humbly asks? And friends, that's you and me. We humbly asked for that dispensation, and now we've received it. So then, what have we been doing here? We've been marking little steps in time, like paving stones on a walkway. But as we've been saying, Jyotish mentioned, time doesn't work like that. Time isn't stepping stones. Time is a flow. And I think if we want to look at Ananda's anniversary that we're celebrating here, it's a flow that started beyond time, when God and the great masters who are his instruments looked and saw the world, as Kartikeyanji was saying, and as we all know, the world is in dire need of understanding, of harmony, of higher consciousness. And so in that beautiful flow of time that we cannot mark in years or centuries, we cannot mark it, but there was a flow, a thought in the mind of God. What can I give humanity in all their delusion, in all their suffering, in all their ignorance? What can I give them to help them? And that's Ananda's beginning. Not just Ananda, but all the great spiritual works that are going on in the world today. We can't mark it in time. And what did Swami want to bring when he came to India? We've told you this story, some of you, but it was one of the most charming moments we spent with Swami, where Devarshi and Jyotish and I were working in the Sangha office. This email arrived from a couple living in India saying, can't Ananda please come, Master's teachings. This was 2003, the late summer, early fall. Can't Ananda please come and bring your teachings here? And the three of us looked at that email. We said, should we forward it to Swamiji? I think we waited a day. Then we said, okay, let's forward it to him. By return email, Swami wrote back, and he said, he named a group of about a dozen people, come to Assisi, that's where he was living. I have something important to discuss. So we all came, and as his typical way, and those of you who will be leading Ananda's work into the future, I will give you this little hint about how Swami worked. He never said, we are doing this. He'd said, what do you think about going to India? He'd already made up his mind, clearly. But he wanted us to participate internally. Yes, I would like to do that. So he was packing up the night before we were leaving. Here he was, 77 years old, not in good health, and planning a huge life change. What did he do? How did he prepare? He Didn't say, oh, we need these papers and this plan and this blueprint and this map. He walked around his house. We were helping him pack. And he said, oh, I like that cushion. Let's take that cushion. We put it in a suitcase. And he said, that's my favorite picture of Master. Let's put it in the suitcase. And his suitcase was like a little boy going to camp. It just was this and that and the other. No big plan. But he was coming because he knew that it was the will of God and Guru. And then people asked him why he came. As Kartikeyanji said, he said, I came to make my master's name and teachings better known in the land of his birth. And that's why we're all here, because master's name and teachings have become better known in the mother country of India. And not just the small group gathered here, but thousands of people throughout India. He said when he first came, he was always filled with creative ideas. He said, we must start an education for life school here. Well, one of the secrets of our success is we're not afraid to fail. And so we had some starts. We tried to start a school. God bless Preeti Ishar, who started and gave it her all. It wasn't the time yet. We didn't have enough teachers. But now, in Gurgaon, with this dynamo, Amita Watal, who is starting training teachers in how to live education, it's happening. He said, it would be very nice also if we had an orphanage to serve little children who have bright eyes. Narayani and Shurjo picked that up in Mumbai, and there we have that going. And he said the spread of Kriya Yoga, we must train people. And so it's come. But the most important thing of all, he said, this work is for the Indians to do. We come only as a bridge to help train them, but then it is for the Indians to do. And my friends, God bless you all. You are doing it. And you are doing it with dedication and deep attunement to Master, with willingness, with self-offering. And so this great wave that started not 20 years ago, but beyond measure of time, is happening now through the grace of God and Guru. And I know, speaking for Jyotish and me, we feel so honored and blessed to be a part of this great work that all of you are carrying forward. And may the years as they unfold, may we feel the presence of these great masters shining down, enlivening all of us, guiding our steps forward. And each of our little centers, remember, it's not for us. We're creating centers of light. As Master said, I see my Kriya bonds like points of light scattered throughout the world, surrounding the globe. And what the world needs now is an umbrella, a bubble of light and divine love to raise people's consciousness and to help them to realize we are brothers and sisters in God. Religion doesn't matter, caste doesn't matter, race, religion, nationality, language, none of it matters. What matters is the unity of the human heart. And in Master's great samadhi that he describes in an experience in cosmic consciousness, when Sri Teshwar blesses him with this, he said, I felt my consciousness grow more and more expanded until finally I saw all of creation, everything, not the planet, but infinity, like the lights of a city glimmering at a distance. And then I perceived that the center of all creation was a point of intuitive perception in the human heart. That's all it is. all the drama and excitement and disappointment of this world, all of creation resides as a point of intuitive perception in each of our hearts. Let us live from that point. Let us share from that point. Let us be united with one another, friends and strangers, family and foe, it doesn't matter. We are united in that bond of infinite truth, which resides in us, which is the God in each of our hearts. So God bless you all.
We have about 20 minutes, so we can take some questions that some of you have sent online as well as in person. And these are pertaining to the topic we have over here, the mission of the masters in India. So, Jyotish and Devi, one question is, Swamiji came to India 20 years ago, but many of us who have come recently haven't met him. How can we make sure that we are actually in tune with him and Master?
Good question.
You answered it, DJ.
Yeah. There's an outer means and an inner means. And the outer means is basically to avail yourself of all the energy that both Master and Swamiji have put out. Swamiji, we have thousands of talks of his available, either through recordings or in many cases videos. To watch those, to, as Sri Kartikeyanji said, to listen to his music. Swami said, if you want to know me, listen to my music, because that is more of his vibration than the spoken word is, because music goes directly to the heart and the mind. We recently have been listening, and if you tune into some of the lyrics in his music, a single line can be a whole teaching that you can work on for years. So if you tune into that music, and the obvious way is you have a choice of what vibration you're going to fill your home with, what vibration you're going to fill the car that you commute with, what vibration you're going to fill your leisure time with. And so choose that vibration that puts you in tune with Swami and in tune with Master. But so that's the outer way of tuning in. The inner way is, Swami often said in terms of Master, I don't want to focus on his personality. He was not the personality, beautiful though that personality was, but that wasn't who he was. He was beyond that. I want to focus on the principles that he brought. And so meditate on the deep principles that Swamiji expounded on. And if you meditate on the principles, then you go past that single incarnation that we perceive with our outer eyes. You go past that single incarnation to the endless universal expression of God that came through Swamiji. And so it's not so much tuning into his personality and dressing like he dressed or eating like he ate. That's sometimes, honestly, that can be helpful if it's inspiring. But in a deeper way, it's to tune in to what his mission was, what Master's mission was, what their purpose was, and make that purpose your purpose, and then you'll be in tune.
Jyotish alluded to, he said, reflect Swami's core values. Well, what were those? I would say a very important one is harmony. If in your interaction with others, whether in your family, colleagues at work, in the center, we always have a choice. We have a choice. Am I going to, it's what I'm going to say or do, will that cause disharmony? If it does, then refrain. There's a line in the Gita that says, you should, I'll paraphrase, before you take any action, ask yourself the question, will this incur more karma or will it dissipate karma? So it's the same with our actions. If our actions, Swami, one time there was a woman who had a difficult time getting along with others. She didn't know how to change. And she went to Swamiji and she said, Swami, crying, aren't I in tune? And he said, attunement is harmony. So as we take our work in India forward, as more people are involved and participating, really look at that quality of harmony and cooperation. Again, remember I said Swami had already made up his mind, but he wanted our participation. So as you go forward planning, make sure everyone feels heard. They don't have to necessarily agree, but they feel heard, and decisions that are made are done with a feeling of group unanimity as much as possible. So it looks easy from the outside, but Swami paved a road on a very, very rough terrain, and he ironed out all those qualities in us, and I hope you all will understand too, to work with harmony, with cooperation, respect, as we've mentioned already. And so you think of attunement with Swami as kriya and deep meditation, and of course it is. But what does it look like in the cold light of day? That's the hard part. Aditya said yesterday, I believe, or the day before, he said, someone asked Swami, what is the hardest self-discipline? And he said, to be joyful every moment. Use that as your guide, and Ananda will shine with Master and Swami's presence.
Thank you. Our next question is, what have been the spiritual strengths specific to Ananda India which has helped it grow this far?
Well, the one very most important strength is the sincerity of each individual. Without that, without the sincerity, without the yearning for God, yearning for that eternal verity within our own heart, it doesn't do us individually or us collectively much good if we observe that in someone else. We have to awaken that yearning for God within our house and in our own heart. And then we have to have the integrity to pursue that search and do it on an individual basis. Then obviously Master defined his path as a combination of meditation, especially Kriya Yoga, but meditation, which is the withdrawal of energy and the bringing it up, and then, if possible, from that high state, bliss if possible, then to go forth and act and serve others. But so I would say the most important quality of Ananda and that we need to hold on to into the future is that integrity and sincerity of the individual search and the integrity of the desire to share with others in such a way that we become other-oriented, not self-oriented.
Someday we'll have an implant. You just push a button and it will go into the mics. But not yet. What would the monks do then? Okay. Well, also I'll add, what are the particular qualities of India that has made Ananda's work flourish here? Well, I remember when we came that first fall, 2003, and we said to Swamiji, but Swami, we're Westerners. How can we teach Indians yoga and meditation? And he just put that thought down. And he said, doesn't matter. What's important is you are disciples of Master. That's what you share. And that we could do. That we felt secure with doing. But the reason that works well is because India has, it's in the DNA, the deep respect for the guru-disciple relationship. And so when we came presenting, we are disciples of Master, people immediately understood. It doesn't matter, where you're from or what your background has been. We have given our life in service to Master. So the deep appreciation of the guru-disciple relationship. But then many of you, as we said, we've known for years. And some came in the beginning, but then they went off to, maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try that. But those who have stayed have understood there is a God-given guru-disciple relationship. It's not for trading or switching midstream. You stay with it. You stay with it for your whole life. And those of you who have been part of Ananda for decades or years have understood that. So it's you're very, very blessed to be born in this land. When we go back to America, and I think I speak for all of us Westerners, it's a bit like a desert. It's just not Ananda village, that's in our communities, but the world at large, it's improving, but there's just so little spiritual understanding where you come to India and it just comes out of the leaves on the trees.
Okay. Can you share major learnings we've gathered in the past few years?
In India?
In India?
Listen to your wife.
I don't know that you've learned that, though. I think I'll just start off. As I said earlier, don't be afraid to try. We've tried many things. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't worked. It doesn't matter. I think the history of Ananda Village, we've had more failures than successes, but here we are. And I want to honor a friend of mine who's here. Atman, would you stand up? He's the village manager at Ananda Village. He and David, they both did a amazing trek up in the Himalayas, just coming back. But it's because of 5 years of his work that Ananda received approval, and through many, many failures, many setbacks, everybody else was saying give up, but Atman said, no, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. So it's because of him. So I think that's one thing we've learned. Just keep trying. God and Guru will get you through impossible odds, things that really, the history of Ananda in America and to some extent in India is how to transcend disappointment and failure and keep your faith and your vision undimmed and keep going.
I would say that this is not something new in India, but we have learned to work more with it. And that's that Ananda is built on spiritual friendship and caring for each other. And if we tune into Master and Swamiji, and then we are kind and caring and supportive to each other, Ananda will grow straight and true. If we stray from any of those, either attunement or kindness, then Ananda will have a bent branch that goes off into I don't know what it goes off into. Devarshi knows more about trees than I do. Nonetheless, if we stay true to those principles, attunement with God and Guru, and the deep desire to share through kindness, support, and love with each other, and with seeing no one as a stranger, no one coming as a stranger. Swami was an absolute prime example of this. He would go up to people on the street and simply engage with them for hardly any reason at all. Oh, what a beautiful shawl that is. And they would come alive. A person who is walking down the street looking afraid and lonely, and he would say, oh, what a beautiful shawl that is. And they would come alive. So he expressed it in a very active way, the desire to help everyone around him, be lifted up and embraced in love and caring. If Ananda can hold true to that kind of vibration, it will be a beautiful vehicle for Swamiji into the future.
So maybe we'll do one last question.
Sure. This one is, you have come to India many, many times from the very beginning of Ananda's work in India. What are some memorable events or achievements that you can think about in these past 2 decades?
Of course, there are the big moments, the thousands of people coming to Swami's talk at Siri Fort or in Chennai. But for me, the memorable moments are simple and unseen. I remember once we were staying in Swami's house in Gurgaon, and there was a man he didn't know who wanted to have an appointment with Swamiji with his son. And Swami wasn't well, and his staff was trying to protect him, and they said, oh, I'm sorry, sir, you can't come, you can't talk to Swami. And Swami was at the top of the stairs, and he heard, and he came down, and he said, don't tell anyone they can't talk to me. And he welcomed this man and his son in, just very briefly, and then they left. Just the door was closed, and then he came out, and he told us that young man, the son, is dying of cancer, and the man, the father, just wanted me to bless him. And that's, to me, what Ananda is, that always open to people's needs, and no matter what disadvantages it is to ourselves. And I have seen those who are here full time, we just come and go. But I have seen extraordinary giving and self-sacrifice on the part of those who have been serving and those who are picking up the baton as well. So it's not great accomplishments, but it's really the humble service in God and Guru that changes lives, and I think is the lasting contribution of Ananda.
Yes, it's a little hard to, I don't know, talk about points of important points without it seeming like it's more on a physical plane. I mean, getting out of the basement was an important step, and what that really implied was the spread of Ananda's work, and you could point to the spread through Gurgaon, getting a bigger center, then establishing the various communities or works in NCR, and then obviously coming to Pune was a very big step and a very important step. And then the establishment of major centers around India, and Chennai and Bangalore and Mumbai and elsewhere. I don't want to name too many, otherwise people will be upset if I don't name theirs too. So all over India, all over India.
Every center here.
Yes, and past, present, and future. But all of those are important, but the most important, I think, of all is that we have done all of that work, maintaining the integrity with which Swamiji related to Master, as with deep discipleship, and the desire to serve however Master wanted him to. And I'll just end by something that Swamiji said to Dhyana, and if we hold true to this, we won't go far astray. Swamiji was leaving to go back to America or Italy, I don't know which, but leaving India for a period of time, not permanently. And it was early on in the work in Gurgaon, and Dhyanaji said, Swamiji, how will we carry on without your presence here? And Swamiji looked at her and he said, remember, this is not my work. This is not your work. This is the work of Babaji and Master. And so as long as we hold true to our attunement with Babaji and Master, they'll do whatever they want through us. And if they want to spread the work all over India, which it seems that they do, then we'll be channels for that. And if they don't, if we try to spread it without that attunement, we'll be failures in our discipleship. So discipleship and attunement to God, the will of God, that's the most important thing of all. And everything else are little expressions of that, yes, it's important to celebrate those expressions, but more important to celebrate the essence behind them. God bless you.
Thank you, Jyotish and Devi ji. Just a few announcements, everyone. We will soon have lunch. But right after this talk, Nayaswami Devarshi ji is willing to sign the book Kriya Yoga, which was launched a few months ago, Way to Spiritual Awakening, in the small temple, right on the same floor on the other side. And so if you'd like to get your copy and get it signed by Devarshi ji after this talk for the next about 15 to 20 minutes, please do go to that room. Then after lunch we have free time for about 2 hours, and in the free time it's an excellent opportunity to meet Guru Bhais from other centers, many other center leaders I hear, people from different countries I hear. So we have 4 different activities to facilitate that. We will be having right on the ground floor an art workshop that is will be coordinated by Diti. And so if you're interested in that and want to find like-minded Guru Bhais, Guru Priya, Forgive me, yes, that's Guru. Ditti's Guru, spiritual name now, Guru Priya. And then we will, on the same indoors, on the ground floor, we will have Leela Devi sharing about Paramhansa Yoganandaji's flower essences and how they can help us, and it will be an interactive workshop. Then we will have Education for Life on the first floor by Nitaiji and Aryavan. And finally, a sing-along, sorry. I couldn't read my own handwriting. It can happen to... says something about doctors' handwritings. Sing-along led by Barakiel in the small temple on this floor. So please take a pic. You can go to different classrooms also. Then evening meditation, which yesterday was right here, will actually now be only on the ground floor from 5 p.m. because from 2 p.m. we will have a lot of professionals with light and sound equipment come here to set up for the evening play, The Jewel in the Lotus. So please cooperate with that. And at 7:30 p.m. sharp, I would say 7:15, please come and take your space over here. And again, I'll request Guru Bhais from Pune, who I see actually very few in this room, which I'm happy about, to please give our Guru Bhais and guests who've come from outside of Pune the first chance to be in the front and to take the opportunity to see the play live. And the play will start at 7:30. It will go for about an hour, 15 minutes. So have a wonderful day of interaction, and thank you once again, Karthikeyan ji, Jyotish and Devi ji.